Okay, great.
So built into the time and attendance, and the key ingredient here, having it built into the time and attendance, the scheduling aspect of things, is the fact that when that is part of time and attendance, I can now run reports on scheduled deviation. So again, with the business growing as fast as they are, they can't be having people showing up late, and or people missing their shift entirely, so that the system can record those exceptions to the schedule, and they're reportable. So I can go back and see how often was Larry late, for example. So there's a very robust scheduler built into the system. There's also a simple schedule that allows you to provide a repeatable weekly schedule template for an employee or groups of employees. Either one will activate those reminders to employees about when your next shift starts. And by the way, did you forget to clock in? Because we don't think you clocked in. So this time simplicity is built in and embedded and part of the time and attendance system. And it allows, again, for me to do a number of different things. When you have an 8 to 8 daily schedule plus Saturday and Sunday schedules, there are going to be times in some of those employees where they just cannot work those shifts. This allows employees to report their schedule preferences, when they can work, when they don't have other things going on. They may have a subset of employees that work for other employers. And that as a result, there are certain times they cannot work. The system allows us then to allow the employee to put in schedule preferences so that we don't schedule them at times when they're unable to work. So this system allows for that. We can set up different categories of employees. We can set up different work groups. Oftentimes in a medical office, people will create a work group around a specific provider, for example. So Dr. Jones is working this afternoon from 2 to 8. So who am I going to schedule to work with Dr. Jones? So I could do that by these different work groups. And we're going to build all of this for the client. And we will spend time consulting with them to make sure that we get this right. But what it allows me to do is take a look at different types of employees and be able to schedule them. I can create these schedule templates, which make it easy for me to apply a time for an employee. So if I need to schedule 3 RNs for a Monday through Friday shift, starting off in the morning, I can do that real quickly just by selecting the employees that I want and just applying that template. And now I've got those employees in place. If I need 2 RNs to work a swing shift, which in this case might be that afternoon to evening shift, I can come in and do that quickly and easily just by selecting the shift. And again, who do I want to work that? We're going to take these 2 here and apply that template. Again, I can do the same thing with my LVNs, my nurse assistants. These will all be specific to the positions that they have and they need to schedule. Okay, so I can build the schedule out as I need to. I can say, I need, on my day shift, I need 2 LVNs, so we're going to schedule these guys here. All right, and apply that template for them. And again, I need on the day shift just 1 nurse's assistant, so I will just schedule that 1 individual for that template here. And again, apply that template. And now, since I know what I need to have in place, I also have the ability to look at a coverage scheduler and make sure that I've got what I need to have in place so that I can see I've got exactly what I need here in terms of These folks here, there's an overlap. I see I've got 5 employees during a busy time of day when I have overlap, change of shift, etc. And I can see what my coverage is going to be. So this just allows me then to create a schedule. And if they're in a situation where their schedules vary a lot, then what I can do with this schedule, once it's created, I can publish this schedule. And this has already been published. And in fact, I just received a dozen emails letting me know about shifts that have been created. So this immediately communicates to the employee that they have a schedule has been created for them. And on their app, they're going to be able to see that schedule.
Perfect.
Okay, I can put in a maximum number of hours. So I want to make sure I don't schedule anybody over overtime. Okay, so I can put that in here. All right, and I can schedule that out. I can schedule their lunch breaks. I could even stagger lunch breaks if I need to. So you go to lunch at 11, you go to lunch at 12, you go to lunch at 1. All right, so we can do all of that. And when this is in play now, I will start to receive reminders about my next shift. When am I supposed to go to work? And by the way, did you forget to clock in? Okay, so it really does an awful lot. And if an employee like Robert Carson, if he calls in sick, I can take his shift and move it into what we call an open shift. And when I right click on this, I can see who else would be available to work that shift that I don't already have on the schedule. So if I need James to come in then and take that spot, I can email him or text him or just assign it, and he'll receive a text and an email letting him know, hey, you're working on that particular shift. So we've moved that shift from the opens category here right down. Same thing is if Larry requests time off. He's got 3 doctor's appointments, 2 for his kids and 1 for himself on Friday. If he requests that sick time off and it gets approved, it'll automatically move Larry's shift into an open shift. And then I can find the employee quickly and easily without having to pick up the phone and start with the A's and call all my employees to find out who can work a shift.
I love that. Very slick.
There is not, I mean, it just immediately lets me know who else can work this shift. Okay? Now, we're going to go over, first of all, I'll share different clock-in methods. We're going to look at the mobile application and also computer clock-in first. So this is what employees can utilize on a designated computer in the office or any computer in the office. It would have to be a computer in their facility. It could not be a laptop at Starbucks. Okay? But when I come into this employee portal, I'm going to see everything an employee can see here on a mobile app or on their computer. And they have the ability to clock in, and it's quick and easy. We can track rest breaks and meal breaks as well. I find even here in California, most people don't bother to track the rest breaks. They just say, hey, you need to take, you're scheduled to work 8 hours. I need you to take a break in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. So make sure you do that. But meal breaks are pretty critical in California. So we can program in those meal break buttons and just take the rest break buttons out of there. But when I clock in, now right now they only have 1 location. If that ever expands, they could clock into a different location if they need to. Otherwise, this blue window probably will not pop up for them at all right now. I think everybody knows what they're doing in terms of their work. That doesn't change on a day-to-day basis, the position that they have. So this won't even pop up for them. They will just see this and let them know that, hey, you clocked in and you're good to go. Okay. Now, once I'm clocked in, I cannot do that again. This creates problems in time clocks. If I clock in and the phone's ringing and I pick up the phone and I go through a long involved conversation with the patient and then I hang up the phone, and I start scratching my head. Did I clock in? I don't know if I clocked in. And I clock in again. It creates a total mess. It actually creates 2 missing punches on that employee's time card. So in this case, I can't do that again. I can go to lunch, clock out, and that's it. Okay?
And then it says it lets them fix. It says miss your last punch. One of the things that they want is they want to have a supervisor oversee 100%. Fixing the missing punches. They
Correct.
don't want they want the employees to approve their time card. They don't want them to change the time card.
No, I understand, and that would not do that. All this does is reset the punch screen, okay? Because maybe I made a mistake, and I went to lunch. I never clocked back in after lunch, and I went home. What that would do is when I logged in, it would say, end your meal. Well, I've been home for 12 hours. So when I click that miss your last punch, now it refreshes this screen and allows me to start my day where I need to. It will not allow them to fix their time card. However, what they can do, and we can see here that on Monday, the employee clocked in at 1 o'clock. He transferred to 2 different jobs, but at any point, in this case, they forgot to clock out. So this is clear on their time card. They see it on the mobile app or on the computer, and they can leave a note and let their supervisor know that, I left at 8 p.m. Okay, so I can submit that note. It'll live on my time card. When that supervisor will receive, number one, an email letting them know that happened. And so when they log into the system, they can fix that missing punch to reflect the appropriate out time. You mentioned geofence. This employee sees on their time card, they can see where it was that they punched in and punched out. This is going to take a second to load, but this will actually, and what we can do is draw a fence around their office.
Exactly.
It will allow the employee to clock in somewhere else, but immediately emails their supervisor to say, hey, this person's out of bounds. And what that
So the system will let them punch in. Yep. Only the supervisor will be able to see, hey, you cannot clock in on your way to work. You need to clock in when you're here.
Yep. Now, and the reason for that is there are reasons why I may ask somebody to start work somewhere else. I need you to stop by the office supply place and pick up a ream of paper. And I need you to stop by and get coffee. We're having a company meeting this morning. I need you to pick up coffee and pastries at Starbucks. So they start their day at Starbucks. They don't start it here. This will let them know exactly where they were when they clocked in. And in this case, it'll show that green bubble, which is an indicator that employee clocked in inside their geofence.
Okay.
So they're good to go. If they're outside, they're going to see a red button. If the employee turns off location services on their phone, they're going to see this right here showing that they've turned it off, and that if we're allowing that employee to punch in and out with their mobile phone, they need to have location services turned on.
Got it.
So it keeps them informed about things that are going on with the employee. So employee sees that, they'll know when they're out of bounds too. And they may have a reason for doing that. They can leave that note behind. This note, by the way, is 4,000 characters. They can leave a lot of information behind on the time card about what happened.
So if they try to clock in out of fence, the app will tell them, hey, you are out of fence.
Yeah, they'll see it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And it will also, and the email notifications that come out in the system are immediate. So it's not 20 minutes later that my supervisor finds out that I wasn't where I was supposed to be when I clocked in, it's right now. Okay, and that can come via text to that supervisor as well. Okay, so that they know immediately something's not the way you set it up to be. Okay. At the end of a pay period, I think very important in the state of California, particularly when we look at an operation and medical facilities are under constant scrutiny by the state of California because the state really believes, and it is true in many cases, that overtime rules are getting beaten up in these types of environments. So it's very important that at the end of a pay period, the employee has the ability to view their time card and then tell their employer, based on everything I see, I approve my time card. And you'll see that little green check mark just appeared here. So this is a great check and balance. The employee is the only one that knows their password to get into the system. They're the only ones that can approve it.
So the employer cannot approve a time card on their behalf. So if an employee forgets and the time for a payroll comes in, the employer cannot override the employee's approval.
They cannot. What they can do is make changes. So if the employer came in and edited these missing punches, the employee would receive notification that your time card has changed. You need to approve it again.
Right.
Right. Now there are, and there, you know, from your standpoint, if you're going to put your firm in the position of processing payroll, then you're going to want to see also here that the supervisor has approved that time card. And so this is a supervisor approval. And this will be visible to you when you process payroll. There's also a management level. And this may be where your firm steps in and where maybe Patty is involved with this, in that we step in now, we approve the time cards from a management level because we're going to import the hours into payroll. So there are 3 levels of approval. They can be, I can, as an employee, I can see when my supervisors approve my time card. I could see when management has approved my time card. So
Can we choose? Can we choose what tier of approval could be required, or do we need to go with all 3?
No, you may choose any 1, 2, 3, or none.
Got it.
Yep, it is completely definable by you.
So, you could see how having the employer not able to approve the initial time card is, if these employees are forgetting to clock in and forgetting to clock out, chances are they're going to forget to approve their own time card. And if payroll comes over, and you know, I'm not sure, but you know, with other payroll vendors, you have to run payroll 2 days prior to the pay date. I don't know what the rules is with Prime Pay in that respect. Pretty sure at least 1 day prior to pay date needs to be processed. So, you know, what happens if the very last minute for the deadline to run payroll is upon you, and you have 10 employees who haven't, you know, approved their time cards?
Process payroll and move on.
So you need to process payroll and then maybe process additional payroll for these individuals?
Nope. They can come back and approve their time card after the fact.
So payroll would still be run for those 10 employees in this example, and it would be processed with the numbers that we have. And then if those numbers happen to be wrong, then we can adjust for the next payroll.
You can do, if you end up owing that employee more money, you can certainly pay them retro pay on the next pay period if you needed to, for whatever reason at all. Now, remember that the supervisor is going to view this time card as well. The supervisor is going to see these missing punches and fix those. If the employee has left a note behind, like you see here, I left at 5, well, I can feel pretty good about editing that to 5 o'clock because I'm using the employee's words here that they left at 5, and I'm okay with that. I think I saw them leave at 5 that day. That looks fine to me. I just want to get them paid. So again, with the notation system, and you're absolutely right, employees will forget. However, their supervisor and you, from a management standpoint, will always have visibility of who has and who has not approved a time card. So we can always give them a little boot in the side to say, hey, by the way, take a look at your time card and approve it. And you are correct, 2 days prior to the actual check date, you're going to want to submit your information to PrimePay by 3:30 in the afternoon. So if Friday's payday, that means 3:30 on Wednesday is your deadline for payroll.
Okay.
Okay? And that facilitates the direct deposit. Also, the employee has access to that schedule, and you can see here the shifts that have been created for that employee. And they're sitting right here. He knows when he's supposed to go to work. Tuesday this morning is supposed to be at 7 a.m. Okay, Wednesday at 7. Here's his schedule. He knows where he's going. He's got time off already approved on Monday the 8th. Or excuse me, Monday the 11th. So he sees everything that's going on. If there were any open shifts available, he could raise his hand and say, hey, I'll work that shift. Now, right now, there aren't any available, but he'd see them right here.
Okay.
This is
just a little clarification on that open shifts.
Mhm.
Are those the same that you were showing us earlier? Like if someone calls in sick and then it opens that up, maybe I can see it on my app. I can volunteer to say I can do that day. That's what this is about.
Exactly right. I could say, hey, there's a shift open on Saturday. Normally, I don't work Saturdays because I've got other things that I do on a Saturday. But you know what? That's available to me on Saturday, and I could get some extra hours because I'm going to be off on Monday. So yeah, I'll work a Saturday shift.
Okay.
So I can raise my hand now. Management can look at that and go, if he works that shift, that's going to put him at 48 hours for the week. No, I'm not going to let him work overtime.
Got it.
So I can determine, and anybody who's qualified to do that job will know about that open shift. I can pick the employee I want to fill it.
That's perfect.
Okay? So as they raise their hand, as they raise their hand, I can look at it, evaluate it, say, no, we don't need the overtime. I'm going to select Brian to work that shift and not Larry because Larry's going to go overtime. Okay.
Cool.
Now, also in here, we won't spend a lot of time on this because right now I think all we're doing is tracking sick leave. They'll see their sick balance. In this case, the employee's got a vacation here. So if this were sick time that he needed to request, he could click on that button. He can select the date that he needs to take. So if it's January the 22nd, he can select that. He can say he's got doctor's appointments, whatever it happens to be, and he needs, maybe he doesn't need a full 8 hours. Maybe he needs 4 hours for that, and he can request that time off. That will generate an email directly to the supervisor to say, hey, Larry's requested time off on the 22nd. He needs 4 hours off. It allows me to then accept or reject that request.
Perfect.
Now, that, once it's approved, feeds right into the schedule and takes me off the schedule, creates an open shift, and now I, as that manager, that supervisor, can find out, all right, who do I need to fill that shift and who would be available, and I can fill it without ever having to call anybody.
Hey, Larry, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
On that drop down, when you open that up and they chose the 4 hours, does it indicate what 4 hours of their shift they need off?
It does not. However, it does allow them, and let's come in here. Yes, it allows them to leave behind a message. So where it said employee comment doctor's appointment, I have a doctor's appointment at 8 and my daughter has one at 10. I'll be in at noon.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. And that will be visible to that supervisor when they approve that request. Okay.
Great.
Yep. So that's kind of employee stuff. This is either on the computer or on a mobile application. A couple of things, Andres. One thing about utilizing the mobile app as a convenience to the employee, I can take this page off of the employee's mobile app. They don't have to use a mobile app to clock in and clock out, but they can view their time card, approve their time card, see their schedule, pick up open shifts, request time off, but they don't need to use their phone in order to get paid. And that's the key language here. All right. So if I give them other methods to clock in and out, computer, I can actually take the clock in and out function away from the mobile app.
If you had it on the mobile app as a convenience to the employee, but you also provided a place for them to clock in on site, do you have to compensate the employee for that bonus on their cell phone?
That is a really great question. And it's one I don't know the answer to, Patty, and I apologize.
It's okay. No worries. I'll ask Tammy. We got a gal that knows everything.
Yeah, and I think that if we give them alternatives and say, hey, occasionally I'm going to ask you to do some things outside of the office. And so I still want to pay you correctly. So, hey, you can clock in and out on your phone. And by the way, you could selectively allow people to clock in and out on their phone.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Paul West, he's a trustworthy guy. He can clock in anywhere. I trust him. I know where he's going to be when he clocks in. Brian, same way. Larry, on the other hand, hey, no, you need to come in and clock in the office. And that brings me to just one other bit that I wanted to share with you, and that is we do have the same functionality in terms of clocking in and out, and something that we can hang on the wall. This clock is wireless enabled. It is also, and they can clock in different methods. They can utilize a badge, they can utilize a fingerprint, or they can utilize a PIN number to clock in. It's no more concerning than what they're doing now in terms of touching the same computer over and over again. This pad right here has an antimicrobial layer on it, so it doesn't tend to pick up a lot of pathogens. But this allows a lot of people to walk by here, scan their fingerprint, and clock in. So if that becomes an issue, we don't want a bottleneck of waiting for Paul to type in his username and password on the computer and clock in, and then Brian does his, or worse, I come in first and I can't type, and I spend the next 10 minutes trying to get my password right. This just allows for quick and easy clock in. And
do you find that most?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Do you find most of your clients are using the fingerprint?
Because
for ease of use?
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons also is you've painted a picture of an organization that started off 3 months ago with 20 employees. Now they've got 80. They don't know 60 of those employees really well.
Correct.
They might know that core of 20 and trust them explicitly. But when you go through that kind of growth, you can only vet your employees so much, and this makes sure that I'm not clocking in for anybody else. I can't clock in for Paul unless Paul's willing to cut his finger off, give it to me, and allow me to take it into work. Then I could clock in for him.
But then there's the logistics of having everyone come to the office, take some time from their job to scan those fingerprints and make sure that they are attached to the right profile, right?
Well, first of all, they don't have to worry about it being attached to the right profile. It's a one-time registration of the fingerprint, and so as we implement this system, we can enroll everybody's fingerprint in this clock. And all they need to do is they will put their finger on that. That opens up the keyboard, clock in, and walk away. When I go to the computer, I have to put in a username and a password.
Yeah.
And clock in. So when you think about the time involved, it would be much less to utilize the clock. Now, if we're also willing to say, you know what, I'm gonna pay everybody $10 a month as a reimbursement to use their own mobile phone, there's a real advantage to that. Because now I don't have employees all touching the same thing. There's only one person that needs to touch my phone.
Okay.
So these are just things to think about. Okay. All three of these methods can be used in conjunction with each other. So
but in the same clock would be able to use a fingerprint, a PIN code, or one of those cards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. And the only downside of PIN number and badges is I can give Paul my badge. He can clock in for me. I can give him my PIN, and he can enter my PIN and clock in for me. So those are things to weigh in terms of how we do things. Okay. And like I said, we can mix and match them as we need to.
So,
if you have somebody who works in a business office every day, and that's all they do, they can come in, fire up their computer, and clock in. They've got their own machine. They're not clamoring over somebody else. Excuse me, I know you're right in the middle of going through some patient records, but I need to clock in.
Okay. So what would be the process of collecting these fingerprints? Do we need additional, I asked Paul this question, and I think he mentioned that before, a technician would come over and assist with this, but maybe that's not the case anymore. So, because you would, as you can imagine, if I go there, I'm not a specialist on collecting fingerprints, right? So if we want to make sure that this, fingerprints are, like 99% accurate, right? So if you read that,
yep.
if you read a fingerprint, then there's 99.99% that when it scans your fingerprint is going to match. That's why it's
Correct.
used in criminal investigation. So,
yep.
But the problem is, the devices work is as good as the data is. So who's going to make sure, like if we decide to use the fingerprint option, who's going to help us, determine or, process the fingerprints such as we don't have an issue down the road? Because if you can think about it, if a technician comes over 2-3 days, because he will not be able to see everybody on one sitting, so maybe he comes and then he, 82 people, 84 people, maybe he needs to see 25 people a day, maybe he needs to come by 4 days or whatever. We will need someone who knows about this, who's knowledgeable on how to collect those signatures and load them up on the clock or on the system. I don't know. Is the fingerprint does it go to your Prime Pay servers, or does it stay only on the clock?
So
You know?
let's, a lot of questions there, but let me answer, I think most of them for you. So number one, as it relates to a technician, it sounds to me like Paul volunteered. But let me
I mean,
dispel both of your fears.
I've done it once before, Larry.
I know you have.
That makes you qualified.
Well, exactly right. It makes him an expert. Okay, but let me explain to you that the process of collecting a fingerprint takes seconds, and it's a simple process. The clock walks you through everything that needs to happen, and the employee will be asked to scan their fingerprint, and I think it's a total of 4 times. 3 of them are to provide an image that we can match to. The fingerprints are stored as a series of ones and zeros, and stored on the server, and so they match exactly. It is a really easy process, and normally what we would do is you will be on the line with one of our technicians, and they're going to walk you through that process. Again, on occasion, we do have salespeople that are in the area. They'll be happy to come in if they can work it into their schedule to assist you with it. But it's a really simple process.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression that it was a little more complicated, but technology is just through
Well,
the
it's
roof.
like it's like I bought my wife a new iPad for Christmas, and she's not all that tech savvy, but she had that thing up and running, just following the steps, scanning her fingerprint on there because it's a fingerprint reader, and boom, boom, boom. Okay, you're ready to go. And it took no time at all. These clocks are very, very similar. They're primarily, they really are plug and play. And as soon as it's plugged in, and we will have a technician online with you and whoever's doing this process. And once you've done one, you can do 20. Once you've done 20, you can get all 80 of those people in there in no time.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Perfect.
So we will be there to help, one way or the other. And again, Paul, thanks for volunteering. And Paul can actually volunteer Brian too, because Brian reports to Paul. So
Well, and that was my thought.
Oh, thanks, Larry. Thanks, Paul.
It was for Brian's development, his professional development. I thought that would be a good suggestion.
And the good news is Brian is local, so yeah.
there you go. Exactly right. Exactly right. So again, and you can, and you'll actually be able to see on the employee's time card what method they use to clock in. So did they clock in from a computer? You'll see the IP address, which is approved for them to utilize, or you'll see a little fingerprint next to, I'll clock in on one of these things right now, and you'll see that fingerprint right next to the punch showing that they used a clock to punch in. So it's an easier process than I would have ever imagined. And I started working with these things, 12 years ago, I think, at this point. And I took my very first fingerprint reader clock out to I remember it was an architecture firm in San Francisco. And I walked through the door, had never, ever worked with a piece of hardware like this before in my life. And I plugged it in, connected it to the internet, and it just walked me through the process. So, I want you to know that it will be an easy process, and should Paul or Brian or both of them be there at the time we're doing this, you'll send them home relatively quickly because it's going to be very simple to do.
Okay, great. So Brian, Can you please send over pricing information on these clocks? I don't believe we have them.
Yeah, after the call, and we decide that hey, the scheduler is a great idea. We want to get some hardware. I'll redo the quote and I'll include everything that you think would be valuable to the organization.
Okay, Larry, a follow-up question on the scheduler. Could I have a template like on Excel and just upload it? Or do you need to do it like
can't.
individually?
You can't, but you can create a template and then just apply it. And so in the scheduler itself, you can and heck, as we build this thing for you, we can build the templates for you, and then it's just apply it to the appropriate employee. So you can do one of two things, utilizing the advanced scheduling that we looked at. That's what you saw. You can also create a simple template that says this employee works the same schedule every week. Okay, there's no need in me applying. Oh, and by the way, on the advanced scheduler, you can copy and paste a week into the next week. You can copy and paste a month into the next month. And you can build your schedule for the entire year and then just manage exceptions.
Yeah, that's not going to be the case for this group 100%.
Well, growing as they are, they're going to be adding employees all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought more in the like if because I'm thinking supervisors and the people in charge in this group, they will have these schedules like in an Excel sheet, right? So let's say they have their whole staff and they have the whole schedule, right? So what I was asking is if I have a CSV file with all these schedules, aside from the scheduler itself, if I upload an import of a CSV file, is the scheduler compatible with it?
No. And there's no need for the CSV file because you create it all within the system. Okay. And so now I can print it out if I need to print it out and tack it up on a wall someplace, but there's no need for the CSV file anymore.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Because you're going to build it there. And if I'm supervising the billing office only, for example, that's all I need to deal with. Okay. I only need to deal with that one function. And I only need to build my schedule for that. Let me look at one thing in here. Let's see if I have this set up in here. I don't think I do. Yeah, I've got another client that let's do this. I'm going to log out here and I'll show you just a different view of kind of how a more simple schedule, it doesn't do all the notifications. Okay. So it's not going to notify me about my shifts starting. Yes, actually it will. If the schedule is in place, it will notify me about my shift starting and did you forget to clock in. But it won't allow me to see things like who else could work this shift. It won't allow for swapping of shifts and those sorts of things. It would be something manual that I would do. But there is a different way that I could be involved with scheduling. And this becomes sort of similar to what you're talking about, Andreas, is that now I'm just applying, and let's go to this other client over here. I'm just applying a template to an employee, and I can apply it to however far out I need to go with this. And there's no additional charge for this. There is an additional charge for the advanced scheduling. But if I want to come in and create a schedule for an employee, I can come in here and set that schedule for a given employee as I want to do that. Oh shoot, how I got there. Let's try that again. There we go. All right, so I can come in if I want to create a schedule for Mike Young. I can come in here and I can set and modify his schedule. I can start this on 1/5 or on any date that I want to. So I want to start this, let's say, next Monday on the 11th. I can even set this up to not even limit by dates. Okay, so I could say, yeah, I don't care about that. I'm just going to apply one of my standard templates. So I can create all these different templates. This kind of comes back to that kind of Excel spreadsheet you're talking about. It's already set to 7 to 4. Okay, and now I can create this, that this employee works Monday through Friday from 7 to 4. I could build in a lunch break here if I need to. And this is going to apply this schedule to that employee for the rest of the year and into next year and forever and always. And then I can manage exceptions as I need to. So we can build out those templates for you, and you can just apply them to the employees as you need to. And then you see coverage as well. So you can see, who's starting off the day on Monday at 7 a.m. All right,
You have it hour by hour.
Yep. So you can see who's on board at any time. At 7 a.m., Samantha's coming in. At 8 o'clock, I've got Samantha, I've got Dustin, I've got all of these folks coming in, and I can see them start to increase as they're being added into that schedule. Okay, so that's and no additional charge for that. It doesn't allow for quick access to and the ability to manage exceptions like right now when they happen.
Right. Now I'm wondering what this window would look like if you have 40 people at the same time working.
Yep, there's going to be a lot in there. It's just going to be bigger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
No doubt whatsoever. So it's a little less robust. It costs nothing extra to have it, and you could start with something like this and then go, no, we've got way too many changes that we're making to work with this. We need to go in a different direction. Let's add the time simplicity advanced scheduling into the program.
Okay, so can you show me from this calendar, right? Can you pick a person here and go into their profile and change the hours manually?
The hours of the shift?
Like this is, you're looking at today's, so you're looking at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Imagine that today is Wednesday or Tuesday. Remember, today is Tuesday, January 5th, and then you can see Monday, January 4th, right? So let's say Samantha Gardner, it says there in 7, out 4, hours 9. What if that was not the case and she had to leave at 3, and she worked actually 8 hours? Can you click from this view onto her name and go into their profile and make that adjustment?
No, because this is just a plan. This isn't what you're paying the employees. But I can, over here, look at today's entries and come in then and look at Samantha, and obviously she didn't clock in at all, but I can see, and this is also letting me know I've created a schedule for her and she was absent. But I can add anything that I need to say that she actually worked from 7 and left at 3. So I can certainly do that right here from my menu.
Got it.
Yep. And then I've got a couple of interesting ways to manage time cards. A multi-time card editor, to where now I can come in and I can deal with a bunch of employees at the same time. So this employee got there at 8, and this employee got there at 6, and this employee got there at 7, and this employee got there at 9 today. and I can save all those changes. So as I need to manage this, I see what happens today, and I can see what happened yesterday. I can manage those 2 days on their own and deal with all of my employees at the same time. I'm going to go back to the other client because I got more stuff in there. So let's go back here. This is a dashboard that supervisors will see when they come in. They'll see just the employees they need to see. They will see if their clock is working fine. All right. This is just letting the supervisor know clock's connected, it's transmitting, there's no issues. Employees are clocking in and out, life is good. This is letting the supervisor know, has anybody left me a note during this pay period? I just have to run this report, and I can see Larry left a note saying, oops, I left at 8 o'clock p.m. That was that note that I just put on the time card earlier today. I know I'm going to find a missing punch, and I'm going to have to fix it. Okay. Again, on that dashboard, who's currently clocked in and who's not. Okay. Walter's here and Larry's here. That's it. Everybody else is out. So if I'm looking for somebody, if I'm looking for Maureen, she's not at work. So I may have to pick up the phone and give her a call. And by the way, I can store Maureen's phone number in here as well. So I can call Maureen, right? So, and again, I may not have access to all the payroll records, okay? But I got access to be able to reach out to Maureen anytime I need to. Again, back to the dashboard. This is going to help filter out those employees that have forgotten to punch in and out. And I can tell you, managing a time and attendance system is something that you want to make part of your daily routine, because if you do, then you don't have that mess at the end of a pay period. So there's two things we're going to do. Number one, when they log in, well, number one, we're going to remind the employee, did you forget to clock in? I can't remind them to clock out because I don't know what happened in their world throughout the course of the day.
Okay.
They may very well have worked 3 hours longer than they were supposed to. All right. But in this case, I can see, number one, who do I have a problem with right now? Here's Larry. There's that note that he left me, letting him know that he left at 8 o'clock. And so I can edit that and just come in, and the edit is simple, and save it. The hours total correctly for the day.
Cool. And it removes it in real time from the left menu. That's good.
Yep, exactly. It's gone. I'm also going to send to a supervisor on a daily basis a quick report that they can look at and see what happened. So we've got this daily auto email report. Comes to the inbox. The supervisor, again, will only see the employees they need to see. Okay? If I manage 10 people, I don't need to weed through 82 people to see what happened yesterday. But this is set to come at 7 a.m. It can come at any time the supervisor wants to receive this. And this is what they'll see in their inbox. This is a report that would have come this morning for yesterday. And when I open up my email, I'm going to see what my problems are. This is also feeding the schedule in here. So again, this employee was scheduled to start their day at 8, and they didn't. At 7, excuse me, they started at 8. All right, they also didn't take a lunch break. So again, in California, if that employee doesn't take a lunch break, one of two things happened here. They just worked straight through their lunch, in which case I owe them an extra hour at their regular hourly rate at the end of the day. Or they just forgot to clock in and out for lunch, and I can edit their time card, and that'll go away. But this schedule is letting me know what happened with these employees, and I got a lot of people that were late.
Right. Okay.
So this is in my inbox, and I can review this. And when I see this picture, I know I've got to fix those 2 missing punches. And I should do that today rather than wait till the end of the pay period when I have 50 of these.
Yeah, so So Patty, it looks like you're gonna have to log in on this or review these emails every day.
Yeah, you don't have to log in. Just look at your email.
Okay.
Yep, looks super easy and straightforward.
And again, employees, those employees, you've got a lot of new employees in the organization. They'll get better with this at times, particularly over the course of time, particularly when you start to be able to reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, you didn't clock in. And I do believe the reminders to that employee is going to send them over to the clock or to their phone or to a computer to quickly clock in when they realize they've forgotten. And that reminder comes, by the way, if we put in, for example, a 15-minute rounding rule into the time clock, that basically, if I'm 7 minutes late, and that's when I get that message that says, hey, did you forget to clock in? I can go clock in, and if I have a 15-minute rounding rule in place, it's going to round me back to the time I was supposed to be there.
15 minutes. Okay.
Yep. So
Or we can,
rounding.
but we can set that we can set that to any time.
Yes, you can. I'd say 15 minutes is probably the most common that we utilize, just because. And what it does is it eliminates, if you will, nuisance overtime. So that if I'm scheduled to work an 8-hour shift, but I keep clocking in 5 minutes early every day, well, every day I'm going to pick up 5 minutes of overtime. By the end of the week, I've got 25 minutes of overtime that you need to pay me for. So if I do the rounding rule, what it's going to do is round me up to the time I'm supposed to be there. But conversely, to make it, if you will, legitimate within the state of California, if I clock in 5 minutes late, it's going to round me back to the time I was supposed to be here. And that's what the state of California considers a neutral rounding rule, which says nobody benefits more than anybody else, the employer or the employee.
So the same window we give forward, we need to give it backwards.
Correct. And I don't see people going much beyond 15 minutes. I see a nearest 5 minutes, a nearest 10 minutes. But I don't see people going much beyond 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now, and then this is fully integrated with the payroll program, which is something you don't have now, which means, and again, if when employees are added into payroll, whether they're added through onboarding or any other process, when they're added into the payroll program, Patty will be able to come in and click a button, and the employee will be automatically added into the time clock program with a username and password that they can use on the mobile app or the computer. And then the only thing we need to do with a new hire is, and most likely you'd probably have a supervisor on site do this, just enroll that fingerprint, and it'll take less than 30 seconds to do that. And now that employee can clock in and out on the clock.
Great. Perfect.
Okay? When it's time to do payroll, we don't have to mess around with creating a file, saving a file, finding a file, importing a file, or even worse, keying in information. We come to this particular spot here in the maintenance menu, and we finalize the pay period. When I finalize the pay period, it's going to warn me about stuff I should take care of before I do this. I have 2 time off requests that I haven't completed yet, and I got 3 missing punches. Those need to be fixed before I move forward. Okay? Because that time off request may affect time that the employee is going to get paid for. The missing punches obviously they're definitely going to affect time that the employee should have been paid for. So once I fix those, I can finalize this. And then over here, I'll be able to come in and you will have your time clock sitting right here. Payroll will be right here. And so when I come into the payroll dashboard, I can quickly and easily, and hopefully this thing's been sitting right there, it is good. I can now come in and again, we've got 24/7 access to manage employees so that if I need to make changes to an employee, I can. I get a new W-4. I need to apply that information. We've got new deductions, etc. I can do all of that. So I can come in, I can make those changes to my employees. I can process my payroll. I can run reports. I can do anything that I need to from here. When I'm in the dashboard and I want to run a payroll, I click on that big Run Payroll button. I'm going to create checks for my employees. We know most of them, if not all of them, are direct deposit, but we still use that terminology, checks. So I click here, and this produces an entry screen for each employee. The providers that happen to be working for the organization that are salaried will already be paid. There is nothing that needs to be done unless you need to add to or subtract from that employee. If that employee took any paid time off at all, sick leave, etc., those hours can be imported for a salaried employee from the time clock at $0 per hour, so it doesn't add to their salary. But the bulk of those employees are going to most likely be paid by the hour. So for these folks to get the hours here, rather than key it in or import a file, I'm just going to import data directly from the time clock. And you'll see there's the source of that information. I click on continue. I had a couple of employees that didn't have any hours. Those are just brought to my attention here. A little sanity check. Are you sure these guys didn't have any hours? Yeah, I saw that in the time clock. But when I click on continue, all these folks now that weren't getting paid before are now getting paid. So
Yeah, so this is great. So basically, the process of having time clock and payroll at the same time is you do the work on the time clock side of things. That's when you're gonna fix the hours, you're gonna fix time off, you're gonna fix everything. So when they get imported into payroll, you just click two buttons and you're good.
And you're good to go. You can review this. Once you've calculated the payroll, I just click this little button down here that says calculate. That goes through and does exactly as you mentioned, Andres. It's going to calculate out the payroll, and now I can review it to make sure everything is as I expected it to be. So right up here, I can run this. There it goes. Payroll journal preview. Oops. I'm having problems with my mouse. And so I apologize about that. It's giving me hits. So now I've got a journal preview. This is my actual payroll. This is going to include everything. It will show their filing status, their hourly rates, their total hours, their gross earnings, all of the taxes withheld, their deductions. Everything will be included here for review. We can make sure we get everything perfect. We can see totals at the end of the report so that I can see total earnings. I can see taxes withheld, deductions, make sure that these are all where they need to be, the individual deduction total for the pay period and totals for all deductions, net pay. I can review all of this before I submit the information by clicking up here on accept and submit. And once I do that, within the hour, we'll send an email, most likely come to Patty, can come to both of you, come to as many people as you need to receive that, and we'll let you know that the payroll has been processed, and you can now come up here in the program and run reports and be able to see the actual payroll journal after the payroll has been processed. So I can come in here, I can look at my payroll journal, I know my total cash requirements, and I've got everything I need to move forward, and you'll have that information within the hour. Now I know how much money needs to be in the bank account to cover everything.
Great. So, so say I want to add a bonus for an employee after you import the time clock data into payroll.
Okay, sure. Pretty simple to do. We'll come back again over here into the payroll processing, and let's just go to dashboard. I'll have to go in and kind of undo a little something here because I've already calculated this payroll. Although I can still, in order to edit it, all right, come on. Let's try this again. There we go. Come into the run payroll button again, and it's going to let me know that this is under review, but I can edit that and come in now, and this now opens up this screen to be able to go in and take any employee that we need to. And I'll have the access to every pay code that I use. I'm not going to see a lot of these other crazy ones that are in here for this particular demo account, but I'll see just the ones that I use. So if I use the bonus code, and it can say any type of bonus, it can be production bonus, it can be anything you want it to be, and then all I have to do is add the amount. Okay, and we've done it. You can also do this if you're in a situation where you've got a lot of bonuses that you want to add. You can come in and do this now on a worksheet and just work through the entire staff.
Cool. Now,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that if the group decides to finally go with Prime Pay, Patty and I will have some additional training on this, correct?
Yeah. And did you say if or when?
Well, we are almost there. We're almost there, but
Andreas, I'm pulling your leg a little bit. No, you're gonna get lots of training on this, okay? And again, we can, from a time clock standpoint, we can obviously train anybody on your staff that needs to be trained on that. We can also train all of the on-site supervisors that might be with the group. Okay, so that they know on a day-to-day basis, what do employees need to do to clock in and clock out? We will train as many supervisors as need be how to enroll a fingerprint, so that throughout the course of the year, when they have a new hire, if you use the clock, hey, come on over here, scan your fingerprint. Okay, you're good to go. Now you can clock in and out. We will train you with as much training as you can stand. I find a lot of times our clients are going, that's it. I think I got it. I know how to get a hold of you if I need more training.
that's great.
You'll have lots of training, Andres.
Okay, great.
Yep. Patty, any questions?
Not at this time. It's been excellent.
All right, cool. Paul or Brian, anything you want to add?
I guess one note, but Larry, thanks for doing a great demo of the time clock, as well as, showing a little glimpse of what that looks like in the payroll portal. But as far as, I guess, onboarding goes of employees, How is that done, or how do you guys see that being done in the future?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Brian.
Well, thank you.
Um, so is onboarding included in the code that you sent me or no?
Onboarding is included. The only reason why I ask is because I know a lot of the times with the Ben admin solution, either you're onboarding through that Ben admin solution, and then it funnels in, but we're not going to have that ease integration. So I was just curious on how that onboarding process is going to take place.
Right. So that will be a two-step process. We will have everyone on ease review and sign the required documents for the state of California, which is like 18 documents or 20 documents, unless you can provide a platform for these employees to get their online signature on these documents. We have, I remember I mentioned to you and Paul that we acquired the services of a very knowledgeable person on HR. You know, and we've been in conversation with her. I did a demo for her on what we can do on ease, and you know, she suggested that we do it a little differently. And one of those things is collecting the signature for the required documents for the state of California, both federal and state. And it seems like not that many people are doing it. So we need to require signature, review and signature for each document. And of course, it's going to take some time from the employee. And Ease, Ease is primarily a benefits platform.
Yep.
So, we always urge our clients to have people on ease, even if they're not eligible for benefits, because then we can send them through onboarding, where we can collect I-9s, W-4s, emergency contact information, banking information, and then we can get those signatures on those documents. Of course, because there's no integration between Ease and PrimePay Payroll at this time, Patty is going to have to be getting that information from one side to the other.
Exactly.
Manually.
Exactly.
Right? So it's just a matter of us understanding what capabilities provide your onboarding module as far as these documents go, because we may use both onboarding module for different purposes.
Okay. And yeah, you'll have access to use that, whether or not you guys want to or not. But I mean, it's basic, electronic onboarding. You're getting probably the same info through Ease, just like, hey, what's their social security number, collecting their I-9, signing a handbook if you guys have one in place, just like those basic things. And then, of course, all of that info funnels straight into payroll from our onboarding, our electronic onboarding. So I guess it's a matter of just, hey, do you guys want to onboard through Ease, or do you want to onboard through our platform?
So on Ease, I can turn off. So for me to collect signatures, I have to have the onboarding module on, but I can turn off specific features. So I can have the onboarding on to have employees sign for the documents, and then turn it off for the rest, W-4, banking, everything. We can collect those through PrimePay. So
Okay.
It's just a matter of, but does your onboarding include those documents?
And which documents are you referring to?
Well, FMLA, CHIP, USERA, that kind of thing.
I believe you will be able to upload documents they want to sign, and you can do that through the onboarding. Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but those are uploadable documents that you can include on the onboarding side and require them to sign.
Right. We have the PDF documents, you know, minimum wage, California family rights, EDD, unemployment benefits, FMLA, OSHA, record keeping guide, pregnancy, disability leave. So I have a total, I'm looking at them, and it's 18 documents.
Okay.
Now, I can replicate these documents on ease in what they call custom documents.
Yep.
And what that does is I can collect a signature from the employee and attach that signature to each document. And Tammy, the person we're working with, she's stressed that quite enough, because the method we were using before was a little different. We would upload all these documents and then create one custom document, list all the documents there, and make it like an attestation. You know, I, John Doe, attest that I have read all these documents, whatever, and then we would collect only one signature. Apparently, that's not compliant, because, you know, someone can go to a judge and say, "Judge, I signed that, but I didn't read any of those things. I was never given, you know, available time to do so." What it can be abused in court if we don't get a signature on each document. So EASE can do that. Of course, that's going to take everyone, you know, for you to sign 18 documents, that can take some time, right? So if PrimePay has a different method that can make this better, then we might as well just do everything for onboarding on PrimePay. Now, you're saying that you have the ability to upload these documents, which is fine. The question would be, how do you collect signatures and assign them all to these documents so that we have evidence that employees actually signed them? You know,
and that's a great question. I don't believe we would be able to, you know, get one signature and then, you know, get that one signature and put it onto all documents. They would probably have to sign each document separately.
Well, even if that's the case, that's fine. I mean, it would have to be the same process on EASE.
Yep.
I'd rather have them go through onboarding in one place, rather than on two places. But I just don't know how the signature collection process is with PrimePay. Does it say somewhere that the person went in there with an IP address and went there and did all this then and signed them? Or do you have the ability to actually assign the signature to the document instead of a report? So these are the two things, right? I can generate a report saying that John Doe went in here from this IP address. He reviewed these items and then he signed them. You know, so is it a handwritten signature? Like, did the person draw the signature with their finger or with a mouse, or is this just a typed in kind of digital signature? So there are subtleties that would make, you know, that would make the group liable or not in court. That's what this HR person is helping us to protect the group. So it would be great if you can find out how that works with PrimePay.
And may I make a recommendation? Because I think that all of this, I mean, it just makes sense. And we do have the ability to do like digital signatures, like by document on the onboarding process. But I think what would be helpful if we can set up a time with you, Andreas, and Patty to actually walk through what that looks like. And kind of put our heads together that way, because if you could see it and you can see it in live time versus kind of like what happens in EASE, then we could determine, okay, what would be the best course for the onboarding experience.
Perfect.
Yep.
I would actually argue to invite another person to it. Would be Tammy. She's the person that would eventually say, you know what, or we can do it and then record it. We can try to record it, and then we can share it with Tammy so she can, go through it, and then she can approve it or not. Um,
I mean,
so that would,
I'd love to have Tammy on and be a part of that demo, so we can coordinate and schedule another time to do that. That one won't take very long. That one might be like a 30-minute demo.
okay.
And
Yeah.
and
I
so
would need to know what her availability is,
yeah, just let me
and
know.
we can find out.
Yeah, just let me know when works best, and we'll coordinate.
Okay, great, perfect.
But that was my only question. That was my only question, Larry. And I know that didn't have too much to do with the time clock or the payroll
Well, it's
piece,
fine.
but
It's important to know, though.
yeah.
I think that certainly, I think that makes perfect sense, and you guys can share that program.
Yep.
With everybody involved. Makes
Exactly.
sense.
But that was my only question. I don't know if anybody else has questions.
I do have a couple more questions. I'm sorry, but it's like I said, Prime Pay payroll is new to us. Cobra and FSA, I know it from head to toe, but this part is so.
Sure.
Onboarding. Say I have the minimal information for an employee. Can I send them an email from Prime Pay so they go and they fill it out themselves, or is that
Yes.
a process that I do?
No, and we'll show you that process. It's the latter. It'll send them an email to get the onboarding process started. But that'll be a part of the demo, and we'll show you exactly what that looks like.
Okay, cool. As far as interface goes, this is what I'm looking right now. It says dashboard, payroll, and time clock. So I do have one login for this, and then
Yes.
I can do either time clock, or can you please click on the time clock button right there on the menu? Would that take us to what we were looking at the other day? Earlier?
Not in our environment that I have for you today. It does not include that in this environment. When you are in it, it will. My demo client is outside of that portal, and that's just my demo client because I've had it for years.
Right. But if we were to go on that single sign-on, the reason I'm asking you is my experience is for Cobra, I have a login, and for FSA, I have a different login. And within FSA, I have to have different logins for all my clients. So it's a little, it's weird. So I want to make sure that we're not going to have to log off and log on multiple websites to manage this.
No, you will not. It will be included right here, and you'll be able to manage it from here. Yes.
And Andreas, should you in the future bring over another client or two clients or however many it might be, you'll still have that one single sign-on, and you'll be able to access those different clients by a drop-down menu. So you won't have to sign in. So you won't have to sign into a new payroll account to look at those clients.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, cool. All right. Well, guys, I'm really excited about this. It looks great. I think this will solve, if not all, most of the problems that they're facing. We still have to collect some data from Tammy, which is the person who's been working more closely with the group. But I think this is great. This is looking great. Patty, do you have any comments? Do you have any questions?
No, I love this platform. Very impressed.
Wonderful.
All right.
Awesome. We love hearing that.
Okay. Well, so Brian, So we have a meeting with the group on Thursday.
Okay.
All right. We need to know, or at least have an idea on a very good idea on pricing between
Yep.
today and tomorrow. So the sooner you can get us that updated quote, that would be fantastic.
Yep. And that's how I was going to kind of finish the conversation, or at least this demo environment is, as far as quoting goes, do you want me to include the scheduler on the quote?
Just add it as an optional,
Okay.
so we can keep pricing separately. Uh,
Sure.
uh, so TJ wants to look over options. Maybe we can do a mix and match, do a la carte kind of thing.
Okay.
We can choose to do this or choose to do that. It would be better.
So on the actual quote, obviously I'm going to include payroll and time clock. Do you want me to leave everything else optional, like the actual handprint biometric system, or do you want me to include that on the quote?
So I'm gonna pull the quote that you sent for Riviera. Let me see something here.
And that quote should just have payroll and time clock, and then I put an optional service of the applicant tracking, and that's another service that we're gonna show you, because it kind of runs in tandem with the onboarding process.
Right. So that's something you would need to clarify on, because I don't know what that is.
Yep, and you'll see that.
So applicant tracking system, right? So
I have that as optional.
I see that there, but then I see it says time and attendance. There's no charge on it. Why? What would that be?
Sorry, you said there was no charge on the what part?
Yeah, it says time and attendance.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That's because we bundle these two pieces, so the payroll and the time and attendance is all included in that one price.
Oh, that's great.
It's all bundled together. The only separate pricing would be if you need to purchase or you need to rent an actual biometric system, like the one Larry showed you.
Right. Okay. All right. So yeah. So so that's great. I see that the W-2s are included here. Okay. Perfect. So that would be great, Brian, if you can include the advanced scheduler.
Okay.
I think it would be beneficial to at least see, what that pricing looked like. Larry, thank you very much for that presentation. It was great.
Oh, wonderful! My pleasure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Larry,
So-
real quick, Larry, just to justify, for the quoting purpose, we would be quoting them on the time simplicity scheduler, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And then the clock, I don't know if it's a difference in price whether you use the fingerprint or a badge, but just we want to see all possibilities.
It should be all the same.
The only difference between that would be that you would purchase badges at $3 per badge. The clock itself is the same, so that doesn't change. It just has multifunctional abilities to clock employees in. You'll have the occasional employee, not so much in a medical environment, but we've had in auto body shops where people sand cars for a living that they don't have any fingerprints anymore. So it gives you the ability to utilize something different. So if you use badges, we charge $3 a piece for those badges. Otherwise, the employees bring their badge with them and just use their fingerprints.
And so the difference in pricing when it comes to biometrics, what that means is I can either buy or rent a clock with badges and pin codes, or badges, pin codes, and prints. That would be the difference in functionality.
Yeah, in functionality, and that clock does all three. So, I mean, it's really the other thing that it does is that it's a smart clock. It knows the employee's schedule. So it knows to notify you that employee was late. It has the capability of handling that. It also has the ability to enforce a meal break, so that in the state of California, the employee is required to take a 30-minute meal break. If they try to clock back in 20 minutes after they started their meal break, it's going to let them know, sorry, you need to take a full 30-minute meal break. So it also then, because it knows the schedule, it prevents early clock in. So that employee that likes to get to work 20 minutes early and talk about, the Rams football game over the weekend and then start work. And Paul, you noticed I didn't say 49ers, so I just wanted you to know that I'm thinking about Southern California.
Paul hopped off the call, so he couldn't hear that.
That's true. And that's the big difference. And one other thing is, there is no rental ability for those clocks.
Okay.
They are for sale only, which actually in the long run benefits you in that you don't pay for it over and over and over again. It does have a limited lifetime warranty. And what that means to you is if the clock goes bad for any reason whatsoever, we will do everything in our power to fix it, repair it. If we're unable to do that, you get a brand new clock at no cost.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
How often do you guys have software updates for that device?
Those software updates are pushed directly to the clock without your ever even knowing that they happened.
Via
Okay,
firmware?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. So those will happen periodically. And if there were anything that were changing the functionality of the equipment, you would be made aware of that immediately. But typically, there never is. It's merely a matter of updating the firmware, and we do that remotely, and you'll never even know it happened.
Okay.
Great.
Yep.
Perfect. All right.
Yep.
I think we are
Okay.
all on the same page now.
Cool.
Brian, I'll expect that quote. Please send it over as soon as you can so we can review it and be prepared for Thursday's meeting.
Perfect.
Cool.
And then I'll find out what Tammy's schedule, see if she can join us with the onboarding module.
Perfect.
And see if okay, and then I'll let you know when to do that.
Okay. Yep, all sounds good. I'll be working on the quote today. I'll try to get it to you by end of day, but tomorrow at the very latest.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for coming out here today. Thank you, Larry, for presentation, and Brian for getting us connected. I think you guys have been a great partner to us, and we hope to continue working with you guys. So
outstanding.
Thank you.
All right. Well,